Hey folks, Les Skymo here. I had my last doctor's appointment um, this morning, and probably not very many of you know. Let me get my camera adjusted here. I'll try to get straight to it. Back in August 6th of this year, I was rear-ended on my motorcycle and totaled my bike. I was sitting still and it totaled my motorcycle and threw me up in the air, skinned me up. But my worst injury, well, it separated my right shoulder some. But the worst of it was it fractured my right distal tibia. Okay, now uh, in medical terms, I can't explain all that. But I knew after I got to the hospital and they told me everything, uh, I knew that I was on a long road to recovery. I've broken a lot of bones before, jaw, couple toes, my right arm. So I knew immediately I had a broken bone as I laid on the pavement, and the paramedics put me in the ambulance. Uh, I knew my right ankle. I thought it was my ankle broke, but it was right above the ankle, just above the ankle, uh, right at the end of the tibia and the fibula, and or fibia, however you pronounce that. But anyway, I searched and searched, and after my surgery, I got home. The doctors are telling me it's going to be a long recovery. I was 2 months with no weight bearing. I was on a knee scooter. After a couple months, they said I could put partial weight on it. And so that went on with some crutches and eventually to a cane. But he said, I could put as much weight on it as I could stand. And which in the beginning, it wasn't much. And so I'm like August, September, October, December 6th was like 6 months out. So I'm a little over 6 months out. And I just want to, I didn't know what exactly I was in for. So I searched and searched YouTube, and I run across this great guy, Scott Elliott from Australia. And I got the same, as best I could tell, it's an identical fracture that he has. Now, doctors, they don't use break hardly ever anymore. Used to in the old days, well, you broke your arm, you broke your leg, you broke this. Now they just use the word fracture. And I don't know why. It's less scary, maybe. I don't know why. But today was my last doctor's appointment. And the doctor took x-rays. He said it looks great. But I'm still on a cane. Occasionally I walk without the cane. And I have sometimes excruciating pain right up my shin bone. Like I have shin splints. I've had shin splints before from jogging. And, and they hurt like a dickens. And this felt very similar to that. But I corresponded with Scott. And man, he was such a tremendous help to me, Scott was. I watched all his videos on this. He races motorcycles, and he had a blowout on his front tire, and he slid off the track, and it's like a Grand Prix style motorcycle that he races, and a blowout slid off the track and broke his ankle. And so, but he was such a big help. I reached out to him and asked him some questions about, man, I'm feeling this pain. And this was after I started walking. I felt this excruciating pain up in my shin. And so I had the same thing, and this is what I'd done for it. And he went through his regimen. He's, I guess, over 9 months, approaching a year with his accident. It's somewhere in that neighborhood. And but I brought some X-rays back, and hopefully this will help somebody. And I don't know how long this video will be, but I won't try to ramble too much. Sometimes I ramble. But I brought an X-ray of when I first went into the hospital. And let me find me a pointer. This was before surgery, as you could tell. But you can see the fracture or break right here. Not only did it break the tibia, but it broke the fibula, the small bone. See here how dislocated that is? And it's right above the ankle. And there's the pad that separates your leg bone from your ankle bone. And everything ends right here in your foot. The tendons, the nerves, all kinds of stuff, ligaments. This is where everything ends. And this is one of the worst places you can have a break, according to my doctor, because there's so much involved in this ankle area, so much soft tissue and things going on in here. And that's why it takes so long for all this to take place, to heal. And then you got everything runs down through here, and you got soft tissue over your bone. You got a I forget what the doctor called it, but there's a film like over your bone. I forget what he called it exactly, but that's before the surgery. Like I say, that's pretty bad. And then this right here is the day after the surgery. This is the day after my surgery. It's right here. Look at the screws in that baby, man. 10 screws. Look at this big long one. Where's my pointer? I asked the doctor, I said, man, is that thing as long as it looks on there? He said, yeah, it's pretty long. But see how far, that goes pretty far above the break, that plate does. But now there's 10 screws. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, wait a minute, now I'm miscounting here. 1, I'm going to take his word for it. 10 screws and a plate, okay, where they pulled everything together. And they just run this screw up and screwed everything back together. But like I said, I was 2 months on a walker, a knee walker, no pressure whatsoever on that foot or on that leg. And, it was, I mean, you're in for it. If this happens to you, you just might well figure first 2 months, there ain't much happening. You just have to do the best you can. It's a bad injury, but you can survive it. If you're outgoing, outdoorsy type like me, man, it's just as mental as it is physical. But once I got off the 2 months with no weight bearing, and I had some therapy. Go to therapy, do you some therapy. So I went to therapy several times, learned how to do some exercises, and then I'd come home. I could do these things at home. Okay, so do your therapy, and it'll really help you. And when you do start walking, after those 2 months, okay, he said, all right, he said, you can put as much weight on it as you can handle. But I want you to wear the boot for a month. You know, that big old boot comes about up to your knee. And that thing is heavy. But I could take my boot off to sleep. They didn't recommend that for the first month or so when after your surgery. They wanted you to keep that boot on. Okay, but there was times, I stuck really close to what the doctor's orders was. But there was times after a couple weeks, I did take that boot off to sleep in. It just, I mean, it's hard to deal with at times. And but during the day, keep that thing on. Uh, First couple weeks, leave it on. Period. And they'll tell you don't get it wet. Cover it up in the bathtub, and they make this thing at the drugstore. Now I had to sit on a shower chair to take my showers, and they got this thing at the drugstore that when I did start showering, um, that you can stretch out and put over your leg, and it's a real nice seal around your leg, and water will not get in it. I wish I would have got it to show you, but it's for broken legs and casts. You can get it at practically any drugstore. Okay, but I sat down, took showers for 2 months. Okay, and that's just pain in the butt. But I got through it. You will get through this. But now this morning I went and got my last 2 X-rays, and because of that pain up in my shin, and like I said, it's pretty excruciating, and my leg swells, my ankle swells. In the surgery area down in the top of my foot. And the sock leaves an imprint in it. And when I take my boot off, it's the shape of the inside of my insulated boot. But the doctor said that will continue for about a year, the swelling. And he said the pain will eventually subside. So I've probably got a few more months of dealing with that pain in my shin. But I was concerned about it because of that pain. And I got a hold of Scott, and Scott assured me, that what was going on was soft tissue. And he was right. He was right. But it was so nice to have somebody with that same injury to get a hold of and to correspond with. And once again, I thank you, Scott. But now this was one of my X-rays this morning. This is my last doctor's appointment. And let's do it like that. Now you can still see the fracture. Okay, but see where it's black and the center of this bone's black in there? Okay, that means everything's cool. It's filled in, it's healed, and everything's nice. And he said, no restrictions. Okay, no restrictions. Now, the plate and the screws, nowadays, they used to, after so long a time, they would take them out. But now they leave them in there. Unless the screws start backing out or it causes you some kind of problems, they leave the screws in there and the plate. But now, if they go in there and they take all that hardware out, my brother, like they did my brother-in-law, he had crushed his ankle and they done all this reconstructive surgery. Well, they had to go in there because one of the screws started backing out. And he said, well, what about them holes where the screws was? The doctor said, don't worry about it. Them will fill right in and they'll be hard as a ball bat. And he's walking fine today. No, he has no problems. Maybe a little bit with the weather change, but nothing, nothing serious. But anyway, this is the other X-ray they took today, and just from a different angle, and looks pretty darn good. But boy, look at that big old long screw there, man. He went way up in there with that one, man. But it's healed good. No restrictions. I'm 6 months out. But I still have a few more months of swelling and pain to deal with. And so, folks, if you, any of you ever have this type of injury and you need some encouragement or answer a question, anything I can do to help you, just put a message on here and I'll get right back with you. Now, if, anywhere else, if I'd have broke this on up the shin, It would have been a better place to break it than on either end of it, because you break it on either end of it, your bone, you get into the joints and where everything's a stress, a lot of pressure from, just the weight of your body, walking. There's a lot of things happening in that ankle and knee area that will keep this thing inflamed for a while, and my shin will be sore. But folks, that's all I've got. And I just wanted to make this video, and hopefully I can help somebody with this little video here. And like I said, any questions, comments, please feel free to put them on here. Contact me if there's anything I can help you with. But now I tell you what, I'm a hunter, and uneven ground, I take my cane to the woods sometimes. I have a shooting stick that extends out and it's got a nice handle on it. I use that for a walking stick. It's really nice still to have something to help me keep my balance, because, on uneven ground like out in the woods, it's just, it's like walking on gravel. It's just, man, your foot's twisting and turning, and there's very little flat ground out there, really, unless you're on a road. But it's painful, and I can't walk very far. I have to stop periodically and rest my leg. I take a lot of ibuprofen for the pain, and I got off of them opioids. I got off of them, man, about a day or two after I got home. I quit them things and just started taking a few aspirins or ibuprofen. But, it's manageable. The pain is manageable, but sometimes it just stings, it really stings. So, but, things will really change. The doctor said in about a year out, things will really be pretty much back to normal. So, folks, that's all Eskimo has for you today. And hopefully this will help somebody. And like I said, if anything I can help you with down these lines, just send me a message. And I'll do what I can for you. But, folks, this is a long recovery injury. And it will be a few months before you can begin to even get to some normality, but you're still, you're looking at a year or so, and full recovery. So I'm not all the way there yet, so I can't really tell you exactly how it's going to be. You can find Scott Elliott's video on here. Just type in Scott Elliott. He's further out than I am, and long term he can go out further with the prognosis and help you beyond that, beyond 6 months. He So anyway, I love you. God bless you. Thank you very much. And we're almost to Christmas, so I will say this: Merry Christmas. Skamo out.